Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Ohio Neck and Back Pain Relief Center, Scott M. Gray, D.C., across from the Marion Center between TSC and Kroger. For further information, dial 740-386-6580. Also located on the net at goodbackbadback.com. That's goodbackbadback.com.
It is Friday here on The Exchange, joined by Charlie Evers, Mary Ann Michaels, George Dunster, Martha Dalsmanesi, and Shannon O'Neill. Get the picture on. Martha, show your ring. We haven't seen your ring this week. That's a neat piece of jewelry.
Wow.
Zoom in on that if we can. There we go. Look at that. From one of your grandkids, right, Martha?
Chantress Harris, the 18th of July, just what she told me.
What'd she tell you?
She's going to give me another great-grandchild.
Oh. How many grandchildren, Martha?
24.
My goodness.
Oh,
And I know all their birthdays. I got 6 of them that are married, 9 teachers, and I just tell you I'm in heaven when I'm around them.
Oh.
And Martha, on people's birthday, if you were born, now how is it, Martha? Tell me how you do it.
If you're born, when were you born, George?
July 6th, 1932.
Oh, July? What number is that? July what?
6.
6?
Well, it's the 7th month, 6th day.
I'd give you a check for $7.06.
That's what Martha does on the birthday.
Marianne,
that's the way to
when's
do
your
it.
birthday?
Today.
Today?
Today's your birthday?
Wow.
Oh, and it's July 26th.
26th?
Mary Ann's birthday, and she never let the cat out of the
You
bag.
didn't tell us.
Well, Mary Ann, what
Well, I
did you-
have to be honest when Martha asks me a question.
You do.
Otherwise, you would not have known it.
Marianne, am I glad I said that?
Well, happy birthday, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, very nice.
$7.26.
See, I'm February 24th.
But you want me to donate that to
I
somebody.
give her
You want me to donate that to someone,
the
right?
Humane Society
Right.
or the American Cancer Society.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I will do that.
Very nice.
You want me to write you a check today?
If you wish. Write it to the Humane Society.
I'm going to write you Marianne Stolarczyk.
Oh, okay,
if
but
I
I-
can spell Stolarczyk.
You can write it to Scott Spears. I'll be sure that it gets there.
Scott Spears only gets $2.24.
It's rotten. It's a rotten deal. Remember, we've got Charlie's package coming up today and a very serious conversation on suicide. Gonna come to Charlie Evers, though, and get our last fascinating fact for the week. Charlie?
All right, it's Lynn School. It's located just north of Marion on Route 4.
LaRue.
What?
In LaRue.
No.
No, the Lynn schools? Oh, excuse me.
The Lynn's, yeah.
Yes, excuse me.
There were 2 students that went there that reconditioned it and, in fact, rebuilt the inside to make it look just like it was back in 1910, around there, 1915. And it was the Hamilton brothers.
Oliver and Merle.
Oliver and Merle, yes. They were over 100 years old when they died, but they saw to it that the Lynn School was rejuvenated, and there was money set aside to take care of it for years to come.
Oliver was 104 when he died. He was amazing. I interviewed Oliver once. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, I did too.
The Lennox School was what I was thinking about. If you go into LaRue, there's a one. It's not refurbished, but it's still there.
Really?
The Lennox School, if you just drive right into LaRue. Interesting.
The Lynn School's open by appointment only
Yes.
to the Historical Society.
Passed by it the other day. Beautiful contribution that the Hamilton brothers made. Mary Ann, words of wisdom for Friday.
All right, this is an anonymous words of wisdom. Many are given advice, but only the wise profit from it.
Oh, that's good. I think that's a nice bit of advice, Mary Ann. And
Short and sweet.
here's some advice I would give Charlie. Don't make fun of the shaved head people, because you're going to get more packages, just like the one that's arrived today. Now, Charlie, there's a card on top here. Yeah, this is fascinating right here. Go right ahead, Charlie. Read the
Okay.
card, and then
Well,
let's see what
boy,
the package...
It feels heavy enough. Maybe it's an antique tool or something.
There you
Oh,
go.
look at all that.
What is it?
Oh, the card.
Read the card, Charlie.
What does it say here?
Well, you're like a kid at Christmas.
After all your comments on shaved heads, I thought it was some time someone gave you the bird. Oh, my land.
Holy mackerel!
Wow.
Wonderful.
Oh. Oh, Charlie. Well, turn that toward the camera, Charlie. That's just wonderful. Somebody just gave Charlie Evers the bird. Tell all your friends. Follow that, Mary Ann.
Oh, I can't follow that.
How do you shut this thing
You
off?
don't. They have to run the course.
We're moving on now to a discussion here. Terrible.
The discussion is not going to match the
No.
noise.
Oh, Chris.
Every time you touch,
There.
wow.
Oh, boy, that'll go on forever. Anyway, we're going to move on now in the program. This is such an important topic to come out of that. But anyway, earlier on in the week, we looked at a very, it was a poignant bit Mary Ann Peace did for WCMH in late 1970s on suicide. We also gave the rates, but we never got to discuss it. I hope you saw that on Tuesday. It was run about 10 minutes. Don't got time to run it again today. Maybe the station will rerun it. That would be nice. But in lieu of that, I am going to read the facts again that are current, if you didn't hear them. Some of them, which are very important, I think. 1.3% of all deaths are from suicide. On average, one suicide every 17 minutes. Think about that. While we're doing this program, 2 suicides happen. That's too many. More males die from suicide than females. That's different than it used to be. It used to be more females than males. Suicide ranks as the 11th leading cause of death. Homicide ranks as 13th, and that's what shocked George and I, that more people die from suicide than homicide. That means more people die killing themselves than killing somebody else. 73% of all suicide deaths are white males. 80% are firearm. Among the highest rates when categorized by gender and race are suicide deaths for white men over 85, 54 in 100,000. That's amazing. Mary Ann, you did that story so well in the late 1970s, spurred, I think, a little bit by Jonestown, as we heard. Boy, oh boy, when you hear these statistics today, here we are, almost 30 years later. What do you think?
Well, they're a lot worse, aren't they?
They are.
That they were bad enough back then. And, you know, the young people, that's the part that really got to me. The young people. And I believe in some of those statistics you gave that the age range was 5 to what?
Yeah, yes, there was 5 to 14-year-old is the 5th leading cause of death. And I didn't read this one again. Suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death among college students.
Yes.
2nd leading cause of death among college students. That's nuts. Mary Ann, one thing interesting, though, and I think this tells the times, 30 years ago when you did that piece, you didn't interview one male. Today, it's the leading cause of
Yes.
It's more males than females.
Yes, it was more females, the statistics at that time. And, but I'm surprised that it's just as bad, I guess. I mean, whoever.
What do you think that says?
Maybe it says something about our society. I don't know. There's a lot of pressure on people. There's a pressure to look good. There's a pressure to succeed, to, you know, I mean.
I think that's the college.
It is.
The lead
It
to that
is.
college number.
Right.
Well, you know, and Shannon and I were talking last week, and I'm not going to bring it back to that, but we talked about beauty pageants and swimsuit competitions. You know, and I guess if you enter, you know that's going to be part, but I think you always think you're probably going to have a chance to win. And when somebody tells you you don't measure up, that's tough. Looks are a big thing now, I
Well,
think.
of course, life is competitive. I don't care what you do, there's going to be competition. And I think parents need to stress with their children that everybody has a value and that you have a value and you have to find what you can do. Everybody has different talents, and you got to find strength in something that you do. And I think parents can help their children do that.
George, what do you make of this total swing in the pendulum? It used to be very high for females, as Mary Ann's piece said in the 1970s. Now it's the leading cause of death for white male. Not the leading cause of death, suicide, the highest majority of suicides are white males.
White.
Yes.
And I think it is. It's that pressure to perform, to produce. It's very, very competitive out there anymore. The same thing with college students. I teach college. We try not to put the pressure on them in terms of the grades aren't everything.
No, they aren't.
You learn something, and that's what I look for in my students. I don't push them on the grades so much. I say, don't worry about that. We're here to try to. I said, I'm not here to fail you. I'm here to make you succeed. And I think we have to do that. But there is that pressure. I think you probably see Dr. Shannon and Fordham.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. And obviously when students are under so much pressure and there's so much stress in their lives, how the stress manifests itself in other ways is interesting, and especially, beauty pageants, that will certainly manifest itself in eating disorders, and you see it a lot, and it's so unfortunate that suicide is so prevalent among college students, because like I said, just a little over a year ago, there was a student found in his dorm room at Fordham University, where I attend school. He had committed suicide, and it's terrible, and I don't know what we can do to reverse that number when the stress and the pressure only continues to grow exponentially.
But
the parents put it that way out too, the kids that are in college, because they say, well, we're paying for your education.
Yes.
You better start for this.
Yes. But this bullying in schools, that's a big factor with young people. It just makes me sick when I hear about the bullies and what they do. And there are some children that simply can't take it. They're harassed constantly and made fun of. And I think parents should be very strong, and teachers should be very strong to talk about that, and more needs to be done.
Mary Ann, what do you make of this thing in college where a lot of colleges bring you down and on the first day say, look to your left, look to your right, one of these people won't be here? That may be the true statistic, but should they do it?
I know. I don't know. I think what they're trying to do is encourage them to really work, so that they won't be that person. But that is, it's pressure. Some people work better under pressure. I mean, they're...
We were in the business where you had to.
Boy, did you ever have...
Thrive on pressure.
Yes.
I mean, I did. I spent my life, 41 years in the news business.
Yes. And that is
Thrive on
pressure. Deadlines.
Yes.
But
And then when things go wrong and you have to change what you're going to say.
But George, I'll tell you, that's a different kind of pressure, though. Because here's why, when I did radio, a lot of times you had to be up at 4 in the morning. Now, I always said there would be no other job in the world I'd get up at 4 in the morning to do.
I did the same thing in TV.
It was pressure that I liked, though, because it was a good...
Yes.
Now, in college, a lot of times, you go to be a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer. You want to be in that field, but sitting down and writing a term paper is not giving you a whole lot of joy. And I don't know, it's a different kind of... I always thought
Yes,
it was.
yes.
As going through college was a different... radio was very pressure. I mean, if you didn't show up, you were dead air. And you knew that. I mean, there were nights I couldn't sleep because of that.
Tyranny of the clock.
That's right.
Right.
But it was something I liked.
Yes.
In college,
And
not that I didn't like college, but there were times you didn't want to do an all-nighter. You didn't want to try to
Yes.
remember every little thing. I think it's just different, Mary Ann. What do you
Yes.
think?
Yeah, I think you're right about that, because I absolutely loved broadcasting, and I was willing to do all of the things.
I wouldn't do anything else.
I wouldn't either. Well, I liked teaching too. I taught, so
Well, I spent radio, newspaper, and television. But most of it was in TV.
Yes.
It's very unique. Charlie, what do you make? Let's talk about the older citizens. Among the highest rates when categorized are suicide deaths of white men over 85. I don't, in this community, I don't hear a lot of that, but boy, I guess it's going on.
You can imagine, when a person gets that old, they have disease of one kind or another, they're buying pills, they're using up all their money, and what is there left?
I know, and I can understand after you reach, especially if you're in a nursing home or you have somebody caring for you at home and you feel like you're a burden to everybody. And I know that's the way my mother was in a nursing home for about 3 years, and the last year she didn't want to live any longer, and she stopped eating. She wouldn't eat, she wouldn't drink, and she wouldn't take her medicine.
And they may have died so-called natural causes, but that is a form of
Yes,
suicide.
it is. That is.
Well,
And I could understand it because she was just miserable.
Well, let's talk about this, Marianne,
Yeah.
because the piece you did, I thought one of the best parts of it, if not the best part, was talking to the survivors. Now, in a situation...
Yes, the victims of...
Well,
yeah.
this was, let's just talk about, since you've opened up here, that was your mother, and you had to put her in a nursing home, and then
Right.
you had to watch her say these things.
Right.
And how did you feel?
It's terrible because you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do to change it. It's and then these poor people who have family members that have Alzheimer's disease. And that, I think, is the worst kind of disease to have because your mind is no longer working. And it's horrible. It's just horrible.
George, my goodness, when you have to watch somebody go or you find out somebody's committed suicide and you're left, how do you feel? Because you're the one really with the burden now.
That's right.
It's a victim. You're a victim, yeah.
You know, when you mentioned the nursing home, I put my mother in a nursing home for 4 months prior to the fact she died. And it was, she cursed me up and down every day about her putting her in that nursing home. But there was no other way.
Yes.
But Johnny mentioned something. You get to the age where you feel that you no longer can produce. You
Right.
can no
You're not
longer-
worth anything.
You're not worth anything. You cannot be a contributing member to either your profession or to life.
I can understand
to me,
that.
that is a terrible, terrible feel. That's why we just keep running as hard as we can.
Well, now, George, though, do you feel that way? Is that something you play? Not you, but do people feel that way in general because that's what they feel? Or does society make them feel that way? There's a lot of ageism, especially in that business broadcasting.
Absolutely. And too often we are defined by what we do instead of who we are. And they say, who are you? Who's George Dunster? I said, well, I'm a retired newsman. I'm a college professor. I define by what I do. I'm a theater director. You don't think, at least some of us, my generation, didn't define ourselves by certain personality traits. We defined ourselves by what we did.
But we did.
Well, I think the worst thing, and I saw people working these long days talk about pressure, and when I heard somebody say, you know, that was their life. If something didn't go well, it would just wreck their whole day. You know who comes to mind because I was a lot of broadcasters here, Jack Parr always seemed to me like he would go home and put himself up on the wall when something didn't go well. It was his life, and he had to stop. Where conversely, I think Johnny Carson just handled that a lot better. If it didn't go well, we'll
That's
come back
okay.
and do it again tomorrow.
Yes.
And try to get it. And when he left, he left.
Yeah, but what happened? He left and he cut himself off from everything.
Why
Yes,
do you
he
think
did.
that was?
He did.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. And to me, it's one of the sad things because I think he had so much more to contribute. I guess he felt like he did. I don't know. I don't know.
You know, people who watched the program yesterday and saw Easter Straker's goodbye, I mean, when you think about it, as we said, at that time, Easter was not married. Easter had no kids. How important was her job, did you see, to her?
Very, very important. She thrived at what she was doing. And even once she left television, she went to radio until she no longer could do it because she was ill. And we never talked about that in terms of how do you feel because you can't do your programs anymore. We just talked about wonderful other things.
I've talked to so many people of a certain age, you know, over 65, who there are certain jobs, if you love your job, it does become who you are, and when it stops, you're in trouble. And I feel, I don't want to say I feel bad for them because I guess they had a good life, but I feel like, boy, you got to have something else than your job, Marianne.
Yes, well, I had a career in teaching and I had a career in broadcasting, and when I retired, I was ready to retire. I mean, I knew I don't want the day-to-day stresses, but I do a lot of volunteering, and I'm involved in the community, and I think that's what you have to do. You have to do something with your life. Of course, I love to read. I read a lot, and but
Doing this program.
Yeah.
and
Well,
I'm doing this program, right?
Well, the unique thing was, I think Fritz, when he was here, used to say this, you're the only one in a group of senior citizens. But you know what? People can contribute past the age of 65. That whole
sure
thing
can.
about that's baloney.
That is.
And
They
you can't talk to somebody who's not 65. That's baloney. Too.
That is.
I've never
You're
heard
right.
insanity. Charlie, you started out as an engineer. You got on the air. You always wanted to be on the air. You're still on the air today.
Right.
And could you ever totally walk away from it?
I don't believe. It's just part of you, really. Of course, I'm an amateur radio operator too, so I've been on the air in many different ways, all 50-some years.
And this is horrible and bleak, and hope it never happens. But say one day you got to a point where you couldn't drive anymore, something big like that.
Yeah.
You couldn't get to a job. What would happen to you?
That would be the most discouraging thing. Once you give up your driving or have to give it up, what's left? Sit in front of a TV all day long, or take walks by yourself.
I've heard a lot.
In my case, I hope to ride my bicycle till I die.
Well, I've heard a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people say that the worst part of their life was taking their keys away from their parents.
Oh, it is.
An older generation.
Yes, but my mother knew when she should stop driving. She never told my sister and me, but I think she had some kind of an accident because all of a sudden she didn't want to drive anymore. And I think she had her car fixed that we couldn't see it, but I'm positive that she had a close call because she always was a very independent woman. And when she said, I don't want to drive anymore, I was surprised.
I've saved this to the end here. Martha, you're the elder at this table. For people who don't know, you are the elder. What's the worst part of aging?
I live just every day as it is. I go to church every Sunday. I drive. My doctor said I can't drive out of town, but I drive all over town. I go uptown to McDonald's and get my senior coffee all the time.
And you still dance.
Yes, I taught him last night.
She absolutely did. Martha, my goodness, what keeps you going? I mean, I think you're in a field where dancing, that's pretty physical. That's not holding a microphone. That's not, sitting behind a desk. That's physical. What keeps you going at 80 years old?
I love to see people move. And if they can walk, they can dance, Charlie.
I directed that right towards you.
Remember, I danced in 1983. The prominent men in Marion.
Oh, my husband was one of them,
That's
too.
right, and I was the only one in step, though. Everybody else.
I
never will forget that. I pried those taps off my shoes.
I'll bring the picture in.
Oh,
He's in it.
No.
And you can show it.
Yes,
He's in it.
yes.
My husband said a lot of prominent people
Yeah.
and men in this community are in that picture.
Who was the most out of
It was
step?
it was a tap
You were
line.
most out of step.
It was a tap line.
Shannon, obviously, the youngest at
Poor
the table.
Shannon.
Yeah, the
She's
youngest.
she's the sunshine in our
The
group.
youngest at the table. What's your feeling on the older generation? Opposed to suicide here, which is where the conversation started.
Suicide's the way out.
Yeah.
A broad question. I mean, as a younger person, I definitely want to just savor all the good things that are happening in my life right now and I have my whole life ahead of me, only 22 years old, so I know there's so much yet that I hope to do, and
And you will do.
thank you.
Yes, you will.
Thank you. So but I do like hearing the other perspective too, though, because it makes me, I'm just honored to be sitting with so many people here who have accomplished so much and have a lot to share, and I hope to be like you someday.
Oh,
Hey,
how
there you
nice.
go. going to go to the mailbag before we wrap up today. And by the way, if you have a problem in some way, there are suicide prevention lines. Internet now does beautiful things with that. Get some help. There are more than just one hospital like there were in the 1970s. Just wanted to hit this because I think it's pretty apt. I have recently lost my mother, who was my last living parent. I am 45 years old. I can't get over it. I feel like an orphan. What can I do to feel relief? Marcia and Marian. That's tough, and a lot of people, baby boomers are in that right now. Marianne, what do you think?
Well, it's a shame if that person doesn't have a good friend. You know, friends are wonderful in times of fun and in times of sorrow. And, you know, you can talk to that person. I hope that person has somebody, is it a he or a she?
Marcia.
Marcia, okay, that she can talk to. And if she goes to church, she could talk to her priest or her minister or her rabbi. You know, you need to talk about it. You really do need to talk about it.
What do you think, Charlie?
Be involved, do things, yes, talk to people. I can't believe anybody would feel that much alone. Yes, I can understand after their parent died, but hey, there's too much today to be involved with.
Get involved.
I've heard people, though, say that when they lose a parent, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's
Yes,
a parent.
it is a parent.
And that's
right.
tough.
It's tough.
Shannon, what advice would you have for this person?
I really like what Mary Ann said. I think you've just got to lean on the people that can be a support for you, and that's certainly what I would do in that case.
Martha, you said your parents died 5 weeks apart from each other, right?
Yes.
When they died, what did you do to feel better?
Oh, it was a terrible thing. My parents were my life. My mother came into this world in February the 12th, 1891. My dad, June 30th, 1886. They were married 67 years.
My goodness.
And they raised 5 people.
Martha, it's a beautiful, and time heals all, I think is the point of that.
Yes,
I was just
yes.
looking at you in the monitor, Martha. You look like the Cat in the Hat a little bit. Don't you think? I think it looks good, though, for you. I think it works good. irmcommunication@gmail.com. The Exchange Marian under Facebook. George, thank you so much for making the trip
pleasure,
again.
Scott. Thank you.
Always fun. See you next week.